Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. It is Day 4, number 80, which means we're just 20 away from 100.
From the big show. The big show.
Lots of information to get through in this show. I guess we have some announcements, and we have a way that you can also help a young lady in need by catching bass and possibly owning a piece of Frank Scalish history.
Absolutely, and it is history, and you could own it.
You want to jump into that right off the hopper?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to go through this really quickly. I have to put on my cheaters because I can't read. I've literally been painting and drawing for almost 3 weeks nonstop, and I am like half blind.
We're getting into that though later in the show.
Yes,
right?
We are 100%. Okay, so what we got is one of my dearest, closest friends, Michelle Armstrong. She fished the Women's Bass Tournament Tour since it started. Basically, I've known her and her husband my entire life. They're literally my closest friends on earth, and she has a nail place where she does people's nails and stuff like that, like a little beauty salon. And
you ever had your nails done, Frank?
Never in my life.
Oh my gosh, you're missing out. You really need to. You need to take the wife. You go there. You sit in the massage chairs. You do the pedicure. Now I don't do the nails, but I do the pedicure with the feet. It is. You need to do it.
Well, here, let me tell you something. I have my nails done by what's called teeth. That's how I do my nails. Unfortunately.
What? Toenails?
No, my fingernails, dude. What the hell is wrong with you? This is a family show. Come on. So, anyhow, this little girl, Haley, walks into the nail salon with her mother. Long and short it is, she's dressed like a little princess, and her mom's doing all this stuff for her. And so Michelle does her nails for her, and notices that the poor kid's got a little scar on the top of her head. So, she pulls the mom aside and she asks what's the story. So it turns out that this poor kid's has a very aggressive brain tumor, and she's going through these intense treatments, lots of surgeries, tons of travel. So anyway, Michelle, she's asked the mother if there's anything that she could do, fundraising or to help this poor kid out. So the lady said she didn't mind, so Michelle put together a benefit tournament in North Carolina, and it's on High Rock. There's the information right there.
High Rock Lake, August 20th, 2022, Southmont access. So it is coming up
shortly.
It's coming up in a couple weeks here, as this is
right. So here's
August 11th currently.
So if you're in the area and you want to help out and fish this event, you could go on Facebook and type in "Hook 'em for Haley."
There it is, right there.
Okay, "Hook 'em for Haley," and then that's for the tournament entries. Okay, so when Michelle announced all this, the support actually snowballed and just went crazy. So a bunch of rod manufacturers got together, donated tons of rods and reels. A bunch of other pros got together, are auctioning off jerseys and lures. Some of the custom lure guys got together and got some custom lures in there. I also got some jerseys going in and some custom lures, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. And so to go on to the auction, what you do is you go to Hook 'em for Haley auction. Okay, same thing, Hook 'em for Haley and then auction. And you'll see some on Facebook, and you'll see some of the items there. I have some items that are going to go on there. You guys, this is kind of neat. This stuff here is kind of near and dear to my heart, especially with children. I don't normally, and you guys know this, I don't normally do this kind of stuff on day 4, and this is not going to be the whole show today, but I had to bring this up. it just, I had to, I couldn't not talk about this. So what I want to do now really is I want to show you guys what I'm gonna have in the auction, and I want to explain a couple of things about the items too, because some of these items you guys are really gonna
good stuff. Really, all right, if you want to register for the tournament, it is Fish BBB, like ABBB, fishbbb.com. It is White River contingency eligible. There's also, if you have questions about the tournament, there's a number 336-253-8596. Once again, on High Rock Lake, August 20th. It's a $2,000 first place, $1,000. There's also like kids and male, female partners, all sorts of stuff on there. Big Bass, $500 Bass Pro Shops gift card. And then just to spell it out for the iTunes listeners, if you want to go look at the Facebook page, it's Hook'em for Haley, HOOKEM FORHAILEY, and that's how you can get to all of it. So I'm gonna pull the banner down here while you show the items that you're going to have in the auction. If you're interested in getting your hands, I'd be a perfect addition to a man cave.
Oh yeah, 100%. Some of the stuff I'm going to show is going to be very perfect for that. And the auction is Hook'em for Haley auction on Facebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with I got 2 jerseys going on there. One of the jerseys is one of my elite jerseys. When OSI sponsored me.
What's the quad?
That's their sealant and adhesive.
Oh, okay.
And then their WinTech Windows treatment system, and the back of the shirt's got OSI.
Holy cow! You weren't kidding. Mercury. You did have the non-endemic sponsor game down.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's how Day 4 started. Was Jeffries was like had you on to talk about the OSI deal.
That's right. That's 100% correct. Right. Yeah, here. I mean, check that out. All non-endemics. So anyway, so this jersey's going up for grabs. Now I have a special jersey going up for grabs. Now this jersey I'm about to show you is one of a kind. Legend, as everybody knows, Legend Boats sponsored me through almost my entire elite season, except for like the first year. Legend Boats sponsored me for almost the entire season. Okay. I ran into a position where I was in between boats, couldn't get a boat. I called a really good friend of mine at Bass Pro Shops, and they stuffed me in a nitro for a few events. So I had special jerseys made, and this is one of a kind. I had special jerseys made with my nitro sponsorship on it. Okay. This is also going to auction. Now, I'll be honest with you. I have 3 of these, and this is the only one that's being given away. So right. This nitro jersey is important because these guys did me a solid, and so that's why I'm keeping the other jerseys for myself, because it means a lot to me that you can have competitors in the industry, okay? And they're still willing to do favors for people to help them out. So that jersey right there means a lot to me. So, I thought it would be an interesting one to auction off because literally I think I had that jersey for 3 months.
Wow. And then all the proceeds go to treatment for Haley.
For Haley, yes.
Currently receiving chemotherapy and radiation. So that would look fantastic if you're a fan of Day 4. Now, I would like to request that either you or Frankie Jr., whoever's more adept at the Instagram, Facebook, social media side of it, is there any way you could throw that link up on your social medias after the show? You do a thing called link in bio.
I'll figure something out like that if I can.
Hook'em for Haley auction.
And so that's just my stuff, guys. There's going to be other stuff on the auction from other.
Yeah, I see like Biz Baits, Cash and Rods, Reaction Innovation.
Right. There's a lot.
Baits.
Right, and I donated a bunch of bombers, the new bomber colors in there too, and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot there, and a lot of the crankbaits that you can buy in the store are going to be giveaways at the tournament. So they're going to do a lot of stuff at the tournament also. So the special items like the hand painted, my hand painted crankbaits, jerseys, et cetera, are going to be auctioned. All the crankbaits that are donated and rods that are donated from companies that are existing in the retail world will be given away at the tournament. So it's going to be a great event. So let me get right down to the paint jobs. Okay, so the first
these are ones that you're giving away.
Yeah. So this is Northern Craw. This is done on a bomber.
Ooh, wow.
A bomber 4A. So this is my Northern Craw pattern, and as you can see, it is autographed.
Oh.
Okay, so that's the bomber 4A. Then I have a color that I did a million years ago. I call it marbled moon glow. And it's also signed. It's called marbled moon glow. Let's look at that. Isn't that cool?
That gold flake on it?
It's silver and gold, big flake, very sparse. I hand put it on so it wouldn't be all globby.
Also signed.
Also signed. Okay. Now we're getting into some stuff that I really like. Okay, so this is there's an old school color called Canary. I painted it because Canary was discontinued, so I painted them to fish with. The good news, guys, is Canary's coming back, but this is my hand-painted version of it. Also signed DD22. Remember that, DD22. That's important. Then I have one of my original colors, Harvest Moon, that you guys are now buying in the stores or buying on Lurenet.
That was in
Norman.
Yeah, that's out there, isn't it? Like that's
yes.
Color.
Yes, this is a production color, Harvest
production
Moon.
Color. That's what I was going
This
for.
is my prototype color.
So you could have a signed Frank Scalish color, hand signed, and then put it next to the jersey down there in your man cave or tackle room or whatever.
100%. This is the original painted version that Norman got to produce this bait. Okay. Wow. Now I have something for all you guys that have been clamoring for this. A custom painted foil sided Norman Fat Boy that I did. So this is a foil sided bait, custom painted and autographed. So I have the items that I chose were special items for a reason. So you guys could take advantage of that, and hopefully somebody gets something, good that they like. Now we're talking about paint jobs, so I'm gonna tell you guys this: Color 7 is so close to being here, I can't stand it.
You've seen it, like it's done.
Yes, I had. They're packaged
in the queue, so to speak.
Yeah, we're getting them in the warehouse almost as we speak, and as soon as we get the stock, I'll announce it, and all you BTL listeners will be the first to have an opportunity to get them before it goes to the public. So
this has to be the most hyped and talked about color in the history.
I know, but you gotta. Okay, but here, let me preface this. Okay, that color had so many steps to it to paint, and they had to make it exactly how I made it.
Right.
And it took forever because we had to refuse a bunch of them. We had to go back to the drawing board. So your patience is going to be rewarded with an exact duplicate, is what I'm saying. It's going to be great. So now that we're and I'm doing a lot of colors for the paint shop coming up, there are going to be a lot of my colors. And literally, I have been painting like a madman for a long time.
You know why you've been painting?
Yeah,
because you haven't had a boat that you can go out on Erie with.
That's exactly why.
But now you do.
Now I do, but we'll get into that later in the show because it's a pretty good story. Which leads me to the big announcement today. Okay, so as you know, I do a lot of painting for Norman, Bomber, Bandit, You name it. I've got a lot of colors coming out on the paint shop. I am very partial to the colors I design, obviously because I made them, but they work. I'm going to show you, I'm going to tease some of this stuff. Now, don't get freaked out because this stuff is going to come available on the paint shop, but it's going to be several months out. Because
are you going to show the colors that are coming out?
I probably shouldn't do this, to be honest.
It's your show. You could do whatever you want. I gave you the big screen right there.
But I'm doing this for a reason, because what I'm going to say next is just out of control. So I'm not going to explain a lot about these colors. I'm going to flash them up and show them to you. And then I'm going to go into something that is going to make a lot of guys really happy.
All right. So these are, set this. These are colors that are coming to the paint shop in the near future that are Frank Scalish.
Yes.
Now, creations, designs, inventions, what are they called?
Yes, they are. They're my designs. Now, here, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's stuff that they have that I don't have to show you now that are being made right now for paint shop. These are just some that I did that are for the future paint shop, for in the future. Okay, I love these colors, man. Okay. So that's one. I don't know if you can see the purple.
Absolutely. Is that called like a pearl essence?
Yes. This bait has a blue pearl belly. You see, I got the traditional Frank gut bag on it over here. Okay. This is a really good color. It's semi-transparent, but it's not super transparent. So this will work in all kinds of water conditions. And I have been getting a lot of calls for some old lure colors to come back, and I wanted to tweak one out. And so I tweaked the shad pattern out. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, because I just finished this 2 days ago. I don't know if you can see all the detail in this one. It's
what is that color called?
I just said I don't know the name yet.
I thought there was an old one. Did you say there was an old one?
Yeah, there was an old color that was very mundane that people really liked, and
describe that one for the iTunes, because the old paint bait, the crankbait colors don't translate well over iTunes unless they're verbally described.
All right, the old bait was Smoky Joe.
Okay, that was what I was wondering.
And I took it and I added some layered pearls in there. I added all kinds of cool things in there, made it semi-transparent, has the the Frank gut bag on it, everything. This bait here,
pinkish in there.
Yeah, there's blue pearl over silver and platinum, and I have green pearl on the shoulders of it. You can see the shoulders above the eye spot. See how it reflects a little bit of green? This color is going to be an absolute fish killer right there.
Doug said, are these for sale? Just to reiterate, these are colors that are coming soon to the paint shop that are Frank Scalish.
They're coming soon. So you guys be patient on those colors. And the only reason I showed you these colors right here is because what we have done now on Lurenet is we are offering do-it-yourself custom bundles. So this is the DD22 bag. And in this bag, you'll get 6 original factory DD22 blanks. So here, guys, they're made out of butyrate. They're blank. Okay. They come like this, unassembled, no split rings. Dude, these are ready to paint. They're sealed and everything. They're ready to paint. Scuff them up, paint them. With this, you'll get packaging, unassembled packaging. So if you want to sell your stuff, you have brand new packaging. All you do is, you glue the blister pack on and boom, you put your lure in there, glue the blister pack on, and you're ready to sell it. So you get that with this bundle. You also get all the hooks and split rings for it. So this thing comes complete with packaging, hooks, split rings, and body blanks for DD22s. So what we have is we have the Norman DD22s. We have, for the first runs, we got the DD22s. I got Norman deep little ends. Okay, so I have DD22s, deep little ends. I also have coming out there Super Spook Juniors. Okay, now let me show you.
You could put hook hangers on and chuck that thing clear, couldn't you?
You could. Now here, let me tell you about the Super Spook Juniors. Okay, you get, obviously, you get the original body, okay? And because it has recessed eye sockets, you also get with it 3D eyes for all 6 baits, okay? Hooks and split rings for all 6 baits, and of course, packaging for all 6 baits. Every bundle has this. Every DIY bundle you purchase has 6 of the same body, split rings, hooks, packaging. Now, also, I know this won't translate to a lot of the bass guys, but Bandit Walleye Deeps. I have Bandit Walleye Deeps on there. Now, these first 4 models that are coming out, they're out right now. They released now. These were the 4 most demanded. And again, you get the packaging, you get hooks, you get hooks and split rings, 3D eyes for them. You get the 3D eyes, everything, complete sets. Now, these are the first 4 to come out. When you go onto the DIY section to purchase this, it's going to ask you if you want to sign up for the newsletter. This is important. Sign up for this newsletter, because within this newsletter, you're going to get when we release new body blanks. Now, remember, these are all original factory production blanks. Okay, these are what you would buy in the store completed. All right, so your Normans are going to be butyrate. Everything that the store-bought baits are made out of, that's what you're getting. It's the real deal. Okay, so now the newsletter is important. Here's why.
That's this thing here that says sign up now.
Right. The newsletter is super important because you will get information on what body styles are coming out, okay, and when they're coming out. You will also get special privileges, special deals and stuff on certain things. And we're going to put a video series together for this that we're working on currently now, where we'll have painting tips for beginners. I'll even have some patterns on there from start to finish, telling you the exact color mixes, everything. So this newsletter is important, because if you're a beginner, it's going to be important because you're going to pick up a lot of information. If you're a seasoned painter, the newsletter is important because you're going to get deals on body styles, and they're going to put out information into that newsletter saying what body styles would you like to see, okay, in the future. For example, the Deep Rebel Craw, fantastic body to paint. Norman Fat Boys, fantastic bodies to paint. All this stuff is coming. You'll know when, and you'll have the ability to vote on it, and that'll help us push it through. If we get a lot of people wanting the same body profile, we can try to ram it through and get it out as soon as possible. But this program is super exciting to me because basically, I mean, literally, this is part of how I make a living. So I don't make a living on you guys buying this.
You make a living painting them and designing the
colors. I make a living out of
So here's the question, Frank. Like I said, I've gone through my experience in painting. It's like a 7-year-old with a temper tantrum. I tried to do like a walleye, and it looked like a paint truck overtipped on the highway. So you do the Lurenet, you do all the how-to videos, fish. I should have asked you this because we could have dovetailed it into the show. But are there going to be, like, let's say I want to buy that, and how much am I in to get the basics, just to where I can paint it? Let's just ballpark, because someone said on the instant feedback, he said, "Hey, does that come with the paint gun and a compressor?" So like, let's say, can I do it for $500?
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. Okay.
Easily.
So if you want to get your kid involved to start on this or something, but here's the next thing: have you? I don't need, if I'm barking up the wrong tree here, we can just move on. But is there any chance on like Lurenet that you'll be doing like basic patterns and painting with Uncle Frank and stuff? So if I buy these bundles, I can go on and there's patterns and stuff that you'll be showing guys how to do.
We're
Basic,
working on something. They won't be live.
not live, but I mean just a. I mean, I know
Yeah,
there's a ton of how-to videos, but if I want to,
yeah. Eventually on the newsletter, there will be how to paint videos. There's
okay,
tricks and tips,
okay.
like painting through a dryer sheet to get marbling, like I did on this one. I painted through a dryer sheet.
Does that crankbait smell like a summer breeze now?
Yes, it does. But what I do is I put the dryer sheet in with a wet towel, put it in the dryer. Tip number one, put it in the dryer and I run it through 2 dry cycles. And it gets really,
I see what you're saying.
you know,
Looser. It
yeah, it
loosens
gets
up the knitting.
right. And then you can blow through it and you get a marbling effect.
Yeah.
Just some of the tips you're going to get on this newsletter.
Yes, they are currently on there. Actually, there's the very first thing you see on
Yes.
Lurenet Peter is do-it-yourself bundles. Lure blanks. Click on it. It goes right there. They're all between $34.99 and $40.99. They all have 6 in them.
Right. Now, these are way under retail, obviously. They're blank bodies. They come in packs of 6. So it's a really, really good value. And the beauty part about it, like what I hate doing is going and picking up lures off the shelf and then having to sand them down, take everything apart, sand them down, refinish them, and then paint them. That is the most tedious, arduous task of the whole process. So by being able to buy completely unassembled body blanks saves you countless hours, and a lot of money, essentially, because you're not paying retail for these things. So it's really a good value. And like I said, newsletter for the DIY program is important because we need feedback on what lures you guys want to see. What body blanks do you guys want to see? Now we have an idea what's coming out next. And we're going to continually be adding to the program. We're not going to take away. We're going to keep adding to the program. So eventually you'll have gobs and gobs of different lures to choose from. But it's important in the beginning to get feedback to find out which ones you want to see on there. So we're putting the stuff out you guys want to paint.
It's good stuff. Different ways to get involved in bass fishing other than just going fishing.
Yeah, and dude, we're gonna have contests on there. We're gonna do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, we got stuff planned. I mean, it's going to be crazy. The custom painting has been I don't want to say a fad. It's not a fad. It has just blown up to be something very
increased
important.
In popularity.
Oh, way increased. Back in the day, I used to tie flies. You guys seen a lot of my fly tying crap. Back in the day, I tied flies in bulk. I did all kinds of stuff just because I love tinkering and experimenting and stuff like that. Well, because airbrushes, compressors, and paints have become so affordable to the hobbyist, a lot of guys are getting into painting their own baits. And so this is really a good thing. And I love it because it's another facet of the industry that doesn't have a skill. You don't have to have certain skill levels to enjoy it.
Yeah,
you don't
do.
No, you don't have to have certain skill levels to enjoy it.
You don't think so?
No, I'm not talking about putting out a production quality bait.
I know, but I got so frustrated for the first one that I tried.
But you gave up on it, dude.
I know, but I guess fair point. I do have it at my house still hanging up because I am proud of it that it was the first bait that I ever painted. So yeah, there was enjoyment factor in that, and I am proud of it even though it sucks. Well, okay, I agree with you.
You gave up on it because if you would have just continued with it, your skill set would have improved because it's like anything you do. You love the finesse fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you were born in, Florida or Texas, and all you did was power fish.
I went finesse fishing one time. I sucked at it and said, "Oh, I'm not good at spinning rod fishing. You got to do it."
It's like you with the Carolina rig, dude.
Well, no, that's not. I saw Garrett Paquette posted something about a Carolina rig. I said, yeah, "You're just sadistic, man."
Nah, dude.
As far as,
I'm gonna take you fishing with me, Carolina rigging one time, and you're gonna be.
I would love that. He said, "How much?" I think we covered this, but how much is a semi decent paint kit? Would give me something to do in the winter. Can you buy like the whole so you don't have to go in and know exactly? Can you buy a kit that has everything you need to do the basics, all in one?
Yes, there's a ton of kits available.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I know for a fact, Createx paint is waterborne paint made specifically for airbrushing. They have kits where you could have certain colors ranges, buy them in a kit. Airbrushes, compressors, and stuff like that. If you look at airbrush, the only thing I'm going to tell you is get a double action airbrush.
We've done a show on this.
Even if you're a beginner.
You went through all of the airbrushes and everything. You can go back. You can see your little paint box that you have set up, where you hang, where you dry it, how you mix the colors. There's an entire hour-and-a-half show that we dedicated on day 4 to that. One of the best shows. A very entertaining and educational show. Right.
It was a good show. So go back and review that. Double action airbrush. I'm not going to get too involved. They range in price from, $50 to $500. It depends what you want to spend on it. Now, obviously, in the beginning stages of your airbrushing, don't go as cheap as you can go, because you'll regret it later. You'll be getting rid of that air gun and you'll be looking for a new one in 2 weeks. So kind of stay in the middle of the road, what you could afford in the beginning, and then you can advance your stuff as you go. I have the cheapest airbrush known to man. It's a single action. Push the button down, paint comes out. That was the first airbrush I ever owned, and I painted a lot of production baits with it. Yes, it was a pain in the ass, but I did it. Now I use that brush for one thing and one thing only, and that's putting metal flake on baits, because I just open it up, let the flake flow out, and flake my baits, and I don't have to ruin my high expensive air guns to do it. Plus my fine tips, the flake won't come through. So there's reasons to have, a single action cheap gun and a double action more expensive gun. You really in the future, you're going to want to create your collection of air guns.
I got you. And I'm sure there's a ton of other YouTube videos and stuff
Millions
out there,
of
information.
them.
I mean, this is not like
Millions
you're the only one talking about it. You just are very good at it and happen to do it for a living. But if you want to go Google it up and YouTube it up.
There's tons of guys out there. They're all really good. There's tons of custom painters out there, which I follow a ton of them. These guys are fantastic. Now, a lot of stuff that some of these guys paint could never be production painted, because they're doing techniques that are so labor intense on a mass production level. You couldn't get it done, and you couldn't get it done properly. Those guys are really niched in their world, but I love following them because I learn stuff too. You know what I mean? I'll learn a technique and so on and so forth. And you guys know it's like studying. I mean, if you want to get good at something, you study it. If you want to get better at it, you practice. And the bundles, the bait school bundles, are going to give you the ability to practice.
And it comes with the nifty clear bag that says bait school on them.
Right. Absolutely. Comes just like I showed here. It comes.
Have you used those yet for, have you used those kind of hard plastic bags for like lures and soft plastics?
Absolutely.
I thought they were a gimmick when they first came out. I was like, why would I want to spend $9 to $11 for a bag that looks a Ziploc bag? Dude, I've got a couple of them now. I keep like all my jig heads in one of them. You can put like hooked lures in them. You can store your plastics. You can create a day bag out of them. Like I'm a big fan of those pouches now.
Yeah, so I'll take these pouches and I'll put my drop shot baits in them. For
Yep.
example, if I know I'm going to Erie, I'll have one of these pouches and I might have 10 bags of um, 4-inch dingers in them in the colors that I fish for smallmouth on Lake Erie with them. I'll have a bag with Ned dingers and stuff in them. And then when I go, like, because when I'm not on Erie, I take a lot of my smallmouth stuff out. My traditional Great Lakes smallmouth stuff. I take a lot of that out of my boat. And then when I go to Lake Erie, all I'll do is I'll go down and I'll grab a bundle of bags and I'll know that I got all my tubes, et cetera, in them, and I throw them in the boat and I'm good to go. It's a real quick way to go from certain technique to certain technique. If you're not going to do that technique every day, you don't want to keep all that tackle and weight in your boat. You know what I mean? So it's a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend picking up just 3 or 4 of them to start out with.
Yeah, just to see how it goes, see how you're going to make your arrangements.
There's a bunch of different companies that make it too.
It's fantastic though. But this DIY program has been a long time in the making. We've been discussing this for a long time and trying to get everything in place.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally it's here and I'm really excited about it because it kind of speaks to me. You know what I mean? I mean, it's what I do.
Absolutely.
And it's really nice to be able to get the stuff unassembled. You know what I mean? Because I paint other crankbaits and that you can't get the blanks for it. I got to take them all apart, take the packaging apart, sand them down. It's like,
Okay, there's one more there. So like the spook, there's the package of it. There's everything that comes with it.
Correct.
And then there's where you sign up for are you a lure painter? Sign up for updates.
Right. You sign up for that. And that newsletter is important, like I said, because you guys will get privy specials and stuff like that too. And then you'll be able to vote on, hey, I want to see the Rebel Craw body, the deep Rebel Craw body. I want to see the Fat Boy body. I want to see a Fat Free 7 body. You know what I mean? Yep. And then when we get enough of them, we'll go, okay, this is the next one. Let's get it in there. This is the next one. Let's get it in there.
Blister packs are if you just want to sell them or send them to people, protect them, whatever. It just got to adds another element of
it's just another dimension. Correct. So for the guys that paint to sell, the packaging is important. For the hobbyist, if you want to give some of your paint jobs away,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, as a
hey,
present.
That's my paint job. It's in there.
Right. You can make the wall hanging where you put your paint jobs in the, and have some out, some in the package and frame them. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. It's really endless. It's limitless, man. It's as creative as you want to be. It's really fantastic. I'm very excited about this.
Do you remember how long have they been doing? I mean, back in the days, like were guys custom painting pose and all that, like has custom painting always been around since the invention of the plug, or was there do you remember, was there a specific guy who was like, oh, this guy's painting these baits that no one had ever thought of doing it before and is catching more fish than everyone else?
There was a lot of that going on way back in the day. A lot of things that we did back then was nail polish. When airbrushes weren't so accessible like they are today, dude, they're a dime a dozen, literally. Like you could go to Harbor Freight and buy, 5 inexpensive airbrushes, a compressor, and a stand and hoses, and walk out of there and not spend $500. They were not readily available to the consumer back then. It was mostly for industry. So we did a lot with nail polish, indelible markers, like Sharpies and stuff like that. And now, the because of accessibility and the price points have come down on some of these, it's just exploded. It's been great.
That's cool. Kevin would like to know, any chance the mud bug makes a comeback?
Dude, you are going retro, man. I don't know. I'm gonna write that down.
That's the one with the metal bill.
Oh, dude, that bait we used to.
Dude, I've got
smoke them on it.
I've got multiple mud bugs.
We used to smoke them on that thing when I was
I didn't know
younger.
it was out of production. I'm looking at the
Yeah,
Arborgas
the
page, and
mud bug and
it's straight up buzz plugs and hula poppers
the mud
and
bug and the
jitterbugs.
hellbender. Remember the hellbender, guys? It was like a big
Nope.
version of the mud bug with a little spinner on the tail of it. That was that was another one. Oh my god.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
see much metal bill action anymore.
nah, it's making a small comeback. There's some companies out there playing with metal bills. It wasn't so much the metal bill as it was how the bait dove and the action on that bait.
What was special about it?
It had a rectangular bill, had the little rounded corners on it. It really dug in the mud, hence the mud bug. Really dug into the bottom. It was a good bait at the time. We used to crush them. I don't even know why it went away. It's hard to say. They lose favor. You got to realize something when you start talking about paint jobs like this, what we're doing today.
There it is, right there, folks.
Oh, dude, that bait, dude. Oh my God, there's a lake here on the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. We used to troll them things and catch walleyes and smallmouth, like out of control. Just trolling them. We're 15 years old, rent a pontoon boat, go out there and putt around with a 9-horse and troll them things and just catch everything.
That's a great point. Metal bill would be real nice on rocks. So that's an interesting comment from American Angling, because I was on cruising reels on Instagram, and I think it was Black Label. I think it was Cliff Pace's company, and they had like he comes out with a new, little balsa bait, but he had it like in a pool, and he was like running it into like a rock that he had at the bottom of the pool and there was audio underneath it. It's a balsa bait. And it's crazy the sound that made when just a balsa bait with a circuit board lip hit a rock underneath there. So I can't imagine what a metal bill sounds like.
Well, yeah, not only that, dude, you could hear the hooks rattling on them. Yeah. And don't forget, the fish's lateral line magnifies that even more. Because water's dense, so sound is loud underwater.
When you are designing baits, like I know you had a big hand in the Speed N and the Speed N Junior most recently.
Absolutely.
How do you take into account sound and sound chambers and frequency level and all that? Like, is that a big part in the design?
Yeah, it is. The Norman's a little easier because it's a butyrate bait, so the sound's going to be duller. It's going to be a duller sound. You can also change sound by either using a tungsten bearing or a brass bearing or a lead bearing. You know what I mean? The different metals are going to sound different as well. The first and foremost thing you want to do when you design a crankbait is balance. The bait has to be balanced so it can be tuned, so it can run properly. Sound is something that you can incorporate it. You can use your like the rattle chambers and the weights that rattle and make noise in a bait. You use that as balance also. You have to be very careful on where you're putting weight in a bait because it changes what the bait does. So there's a lot of science that actually goes in it, like even balsa baits. If you buy any balsa bait at the store and you cut them in half, you're going to find they've got weights throughout them. All wooden baits, they have weights throughout them because without that weight, that bait may not vibrate right. It may roll on you. It's just really complicated from scratch, making them from scratch. It's very complicated.
I have this exact one. It's in my box still. That exact pattern there. When's the best time to throw that mud bug? Is that a spring bait? Is that like around the same time as a Wiggle-O or
when you're throwing
crawler?
When you're throwing warts and rock crawlers, the baits that you could throw that mud bug, the Norman middle end, that was like the first ever made like that. You know what I mean? That middle end is underrated by a lot because that's my go-to bait when everybody's throwing warts and stuff. I'm on that middle end.
Yeah, that is a kind of a forgotten bait, but I mean, I think every old school guy who tournament fish in the 80s or 90s has a stash of the mud bugs, right? Like at least the
Oh,
old club in
absolutely.
Central Illinois I grew up in, that's how the Assumption Bass Club, all the old guys had a box of mud bugs.
Absolutely.
A lot of
And
rip
he,
rap, shallow, dirty water cranking.
oh, dude, just crazy. So here, so we got, so we're all over the place now, but
Yeah.
um,
Sorry, get back on track there. I didn't mean to throw you off with that.
on the paint shop, we got retro colors coming back.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, colors that were discontinued a long time ago. People are screaming for them. And so we're coming out with some retro colors. We're going to have those in the mix too. So it's really evolving. I mean, it's fun, but see, that's the importance of the newsletter, because we get the feedback off the newsletter,
Yeah.
and then we can do things appropriately.
Let me ask you this. I don't think it's any secret. I think it's scientifically proven that bass become conditioned to certain vibrations, certain sounds.
Yeah, rattles,
Yeah.
noise.
Has there ever been any studies about bass becoming conditioned to certain colors?
That's a good question. I don't know for a fact, but I can tell you with color, water conditions dictate the efficiency of a color, and that can change just by being in one section of the lake versus another section of the lake. I've seen that on numerous occasions. Like I cut a video, I was fishing the new bomber colors that I made, and I cut a video and I was throwing green pearl shad and I was throwing electric shad. And the one day that we went out, green pearl shad was smashing them. We went out 3 days later. We had a little water condition change, and you couldn't keep them off of electric shad. You couldn't keep them off that bait. And I threw both baits simultaneously, alternating casts between colors. And so they showed a color preference, literally, 3 days later. They had a different color preference. Now, here, I'll be honest with you, the water color changed a little bit. The day the green pearl shad was crashing them, it was very clean, and the water was clean, not crystal clear like you can see 20 feet down. It was clean. You could see probably 3 feet down. The 3 days later, I go there. You could still see 3 feet down, but the water had a different color tinge to it, and so it reflected the light differently. And that electric shad just blew them up. I mean, like it was like they were choking on the thing. So you have to pay attention to watercolor too, and clarity is different than color. Okay, clarity is the distance you can see. Color is what the water looks like. It's the same way you would choose colors for soft plastics. When you look at the water conditions, you go, oh yeah, that's a green pumpkin color. You know what I mean? So you go to the green pumpkin color lure. That's, tannin. I better go black and blue. You know what I mean? So you have, your experience in watercolor tells you what color soft plastics to throw. It's the same thing with crankbaits. Like the reality of it is, back in the day, chartreuse and blue, citrus, and Tennessee shad were my 3 prominent colors that I threw everywhere. And no matter what lake I was on, one of those 3 colors I could catch them on. What I'm finding out today, by tweaking colors with adding certain pearls, certain transparency levels, now all of a sudden now I'm catching numerous crankbait fish on lakes where I had really struggled to catch them on crankbaits before, because now what we have available to us today is colors and crankbaits that we can make for super clear water. Like I used to hate cranking in gin clear water, because it's like, gosh, these crankbaits, they stand out like light bulbs. You know what I mean? And so that's what led to the painting of transparencies, quite frankly. And so now, it's evolved as our techniques get more specific, and as things go on, the lure industry evolves with the technology into the fishing industry. Perfect example: forward-facing sonar. Look at all the lures that came out with forward-facing sonar. You got the FF minnow from Yum. You've got the horse head style spinner rigs where, jig heads and swim baits. Stuff is becoming used more because the technology changed and put these techniques in front of our face where we can now catch fish doing this sort of thing. We're back in the old days, dude. Oh yeah, well, they're suspending. You got to throw a suspending jerk bait on them. All of a sudden now it's like, no, you don't. How are you going to get your suspending jerkbait down 25, 30 feet? Well, you don't have to. You can throw a jig head and a swim bait. You know what I mean? So as techniques change and as technology changes, techniques change, and so do paint jobs.
It's good stuff. All right. What else?
I don't know, man. I've had a rough go with this motor of mine. And there's been a lot of complications with it, and nobody could figure it out, and it was kind of making me insane. And I'm gonna vent for a slight moment. I'm gonna vent because I spent a lot of money on this thing, and I'm very meticulous with my stuff. So I was really unhappy. I spent a lot of money buying a lot of parts, some of which were not necessary. So I decided that I need to make some phone calls, and I need to find somebody near where I live that can help me. So what wound up happening was I did some research, and I found a, a, a mechanic who came recommended from Mercury, but also came recommended from a lot of people that I knew. And so I decided that I was going to give this guy a whirl. So I talked to him, and I'm trying to be delicate here because I want to say who he is and where he works, but I have to be careful right now because these guys are slammed to the wall. So anyway, long and short of it is, he goes, I don't care what you've done to your motor since then. Tell me what it's doing. So I went through the litany of what it was doing. He said, okay, I've worked on thousands of these things. It sounds like this. So I said, okay. So he goes, we'll get the parts. We'll get it in here. I'll get you out of here in a couple hours. I'm like, okay, well, as normal with the way things are today, you can't get parts, and you can't get them shipped at any kind of time frame. And, so I'm fishing basically, out of my bass boat on my trolling motor everywhere I went since October. Okay. And it's frustrating me because I'm relegated to a very small section of a lake. I don't have a lot of room to experiment. So I'm patient, but I'm losing my marbles little by little. So anyway, finally get the parts come in, run them over, gets everything set up, runs a compression test. Every cylinder's at 120. Everything checks out perfectly. Everything is good. He goes to do a water test. He said, man, I backed that boat in. It went into reverse like butter, put it in forward, heard some clunking noises. I think there's something going on in your lower unit. I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? What?
Not good.
No, not good. So he goes, do I have your permission to look at it? I'm like, yeah, dude, you got it. Tear it apart. I don't care. Just make it work. You know what I mean? So he goes in it. He goes, yeah, your lower unit's full of water. We pulled the drain plugs out to get the oil out of it, and no oil was in it. It was all water, rust, and metal shavings.
Not good.
I'm like, okay, what's the prognosis? He goes, you need a lower unit. I'm like, what? So I get a lower unit, give it to them. They put it on, they water test it. And he's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, but we're getting high RPMs and the motor's bogging out. And I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? This is not anything I want to hear. And so I'm like, just figure it out, dude. I got to get this boat. I make a living out of it, not tournament angling, but like, work related. I really need it. It's my office. So he goes, let me take a look at it. I got a hunch. I don't know for sure. I can't promise, but whatever. So He winds up going through the whole thing. Everything's checking out perfectly. So there's no earthly reason anything should be wrong with it. He gets on the phone with some Mercury Racing team, and they're like, okay, check this, check that, checks everything. Everything checks out. So basically, everybody's perplexed and nobody has an answer. Okay. So he's sitting down there. He's literally got the motor taken apart. He's sitting on the stool next to the outboard. And he goes, let me check the exhaust ports. Completely 100% clogged up with carbon. Like there's almost no room for exhaust to get out. So basically the motor was choking itself out. So he took all that crap apart. He cleaned everything, replaced all the fuel lines, everything. Okay. That boat freaking rips now. It's so strong. So he gets in the motor and he's like, dude, you know, this motor's built by Merc Racing. You've got, carbon fiber reeds. You've got all this stuff in this motor. And I'm like, sweet. You know what I mean? Sweet for me. So
did you know any of that? That any of that stuff was in that motor?
No, I didn't know a lot of the aftermarket racing stuff was on it. I did not know that. So anyhow, so he got it all fixed up. And this guy, he literally wouldn't quit on this motor. And I've taken it to other places, and all they did was throw parts at it. And I spent an awful lot of money on things. So when I can tell you where and who and how and why, I'm going to, because I stand behind this dude like immensely. I saw him in action, and this guy's sharp. He's really sharp, and their team is good that they got there, and everything is clean and meticulous. There's not a dirt on the floor in this place. So yeah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna when I can tell you guys locally around here, you're gonna be amazed. That's all I'm saying. And I am so happy now. My boat is in my driveway, and I feel like a new man, and I'm ready to go have at it.
So when's the next time you're gonna get to hit the water?
Fingers crossed tomorrow. But tomorrow
What's the closest town nearest to you?
As far as for
like
what?
Cleveland?
Oh, I'm like right on 4 miles away from Cleveland, not even.
All right. Tomorrow, it's going to be light and variable winds, 9-mile-an-hour wind for the high, 75 degrees and sunny.
Perfect. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a drive day. I don't think I'm going to fish tomorrow. I think I'm going to run the crap out of this boat.
Just make sure you're good to go.
Yeah, before I go on Lake Erie, I want to make sure this thing's not going to leave me stranded.
Yeah, Monday I would not suggest Lake Erie 15 miles an
hour. That's child's play. That's child's play, especially the rough water prop is almost here. We're still waiting on it with shipping and everything else, but we got a lot of them bad boys coming. So
hey, has it surprised you that there hasn't been an Elite Series on Erie in so many years? As much smallmouth stuff as they have on the schedule, either out of Buffalo or Sandusky or anywhere?
No, it doesn't surprise me, because the problem with Lake Erie is it's very volatile. And so you need so many things to go your way to be able to do a 3 or a 4 day event. I mean, you have to have so many things have to work in your favor.
Yeah, but they go up to 1,000 Islands, and the MLF is doing Mille Lacs, and the NPFL is doing Saginaw Bay, and they go to all these Champlain.
Yeah, but I mean, Champlain, look, I've been on Champlain when it got ugly, like you don't want to be out on it, but there's always places you can go. Same thing with Thousand Islands. There's always places you can go and get to. Erie, you're in the middle of nowhere. Unless you're up by the Detroit River, then you've got places you can hide, other options to you. But when you go out of Main Lake stuff from here to New York, there's not a whole lot of places you can tuck away. I mean, you're in it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So, I get it. I get it. I mean, I don't think they should have bass tournaments on Lake Erie, but that's my personal opinion. But you know, guys got to use their head when they're on that lake. Like, I mean, you got to really use your brain. I've seen some bad stuff out there, and you know, we do it. We do it all the time, but you got to be smart about it, especially in our bass boats.
Yeah.
Here, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna promote the benefit tournament at the end. But
all right, let's do it.
I want to save that for the very last thing. So go ahead.
Just remember this: your boat is made to float, and when you get in trouble out there, most of the time it's your fault. So you got to really be careful when you're on the Great Lakes. Anyway, that's it. That's my public service announcement.
I was told at Thousand Islands that if I got out on Ontario and I, stuff happened that I wasn't planning on happening, that the best thing to do is, like you said, boats were designed to float. It'll float. Stay with the boat. You're in the time of the year where you're not going to get hypothermia. Make sure you have your life jacket. Stay with the dang boat, and it'll eventually put you on some shore. And in that case, it'll be sand or rock, but they said you'll just drift in and you'll be fine. And yeah, your stuff will be gone, but you'll be alive. And he said the worst thing you could do is panic. You just need to say, hey, this thing ain't going to sink to the bottom. Let's stay with it and let's use it, unless it's blowing out into the lake.
Well, yeah, that happens too. But here's the thing. We talk a lot about drift socks, and I'm going to do a drift sock show. We talk a lot about drift socks. The drift sock can literally save your life on the Great Lakes. Because if you lose power, okay, you can't control your boat in the waves. Your boat can literally get picked up the wrong way and capsize. Okay, especially if you get water in it. Because here, we're digressing a little, but this is important stuff. Your boat gets water in it, and the wave picks your boat up. All the water runs down to one side of the boat, and the boat just flops right over. Because of all that water weight, the boat just goes dook right upside down. Okay, it's not violent, like the boat doesn't twist around. It happens in slow motion, and it just fills with water. And as it goes up, all the water runs to one side, and that boat just folds right over. You take your drift sock and you put it on the front cleat of your boat, not the bow eye, the front cleat of your boat. It'll drift your boat at an angle, so it's always the right way in the waves. So when the waves come, the drift sock's keeping your boat the way it's supposed to be. It won't twist your boat around. You won't get in trouble that way. Okay? The drift sock can literally save your life on the Great Lakes. I never, ever, ever don't have drift socks in my boat. They're in my boat always, because I've learned fishing, Erie, the big lakes, that whether you need it or not, it's got to be in there, because when you need it,
you need it.
You need it. I mean, it works.
That is a freaking great tip, Frank.
Yeah, it is. I see guys that fish the Great Lakes all the time. They don't have drift socks in their boat. I'm like, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, regardless of what happens, it'll keep your boat from getting capsized.
That's right. 100%. And so you got to have them. And like I carry 3 sizes with me. I had one custom made that actually unzipped and got to be a monster sock. And I can control the size of the sock by zipping a section down on it. That drift sock in Buffalo, we talk about Buffalo all the time because of 10 and 12-foot waves. That sock there literally busted off the cleat of my boat. Because the waves were so big, I fell off of one. And the sock held me, and I fell off the wave, and it literally tore right off my cleat. So so now what I do is I have a 72 incher, a 50 whatever incher, and a 48 incher, and then I have one little smaller one. If I'm going to troll for walleyes, I'll bring the smaller one, so it'll slow me down so I can troll.
Do you think in order to fish a tournament on the Great Lakes, like, I understand this is just my thoughts here, like an open level tournament, Toyota Series level, there needs to be a safety meeting before that event where someone who comes from there who is certified on that, whether it's Coast Guard or an angler, says, here are the 5 things you need to be well versed in before this tournament. Do you think that would be a good mandatory portion of every Great Lakes bass fishing tournament at that AAA, from BFL to the AAA level?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think a lot of guys get in trouble out there because
I would never have known that. Like, I'm going to fish that the next 5 years if I keep doing this, which I plan on keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that when I go to a Great Lake, I've got a drift sock. If I don't know how to throw the dang thing out there, I know to tie it off the front cleat should something unexpected happen. Because the only way you get into pickles is things happen that aren't supposed to happen, that shouldn't happen, that you're not prepared for.
Absolutely.
So now it's more of an annoying thing instead of a life-threatening pickle.
Right. Now here, you could go to on Lurenet, go to Lindy. They have all different kinds of sizes of drift socks.
Really?
And well priced too. So, I mean, the drift sock is like that's the first thing I told Frankie when he got his boat. I said, here. He goes, what are these? I go, these are drift socks. Keep them in your boat all the time. So I gave them to him. Dude, there was a tournament. We had a tournament on Champlain. It was a FLW event that I potlucked. And they should have never let us go. And they let us go anyway. And I wound up using a drift sock and walked out of that tournament with $10,000 in my pocket because of the drift sock. Because I couldn't hold on the structure. Spot lock ain't going to hold you in 6-7 footers. And I couldn't hold on the structure. So I just said, well, I'll just fish it like I fish Lake Erie. I threw a drift sock out. I made controlled drifts over these rock piles, and my non-boater and I smashed them all day long, actually.
Really? And Frankie had never heard of a drift sock, had no clue what it was.
No, Frankie knew exactly
I'm
what
just
drift
giving him a
socks
tough
were.
time. He can say the PVX. He goes, don't play like I didn't know what a drift sock was.
I didn't say he didn't know what a drift sock was.
I'm saying he said you were making him sound less expertise.
He's too sensitive, man.
I am on here. I did not realize this, Frank, that you can purchase drift socks for anywhere from $23 up to $81. I legitimately thought they were like hundreds of dollars. I thought it was like a graph almost. I thought they were like $500-600.
Yeah,
how little I knew about them.
No, Frankie knew about drift socks. He's fished with me forever.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, you can get a Magnum drift sock for $80.
Yeah, and listen, don't listen to what they tell you. Oh, this is for boats, 27 to 30 feet, and this is for boats 18 to 20 feet. You get the biggest drift sock you can buy. You buy a middle-sized drift sock, and you buy a smaller drift sock, and that's it. That's all you need. Period. And you're good to go.
Has there ever been an instance down south where a drift sock plays? Ever?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Listen to this. So I actually did it up north first, to be totally brutally honest with you. When the wind's blowing real hard, let's say you're pitching open pockets on grass edges, deeper grass edges, you're pitching the open pockets.
Okay.
Wind's blowing super hard, trolling motors gurgling, and you know how it is in the wind and making all that racket. I threw a drift sock out, let the wind push me down the grass edge. All I did was control how far to the grass edge I got blown with the trolling motor, so I wasn't always on the trolling motor, and I literally pitched the pockets in front of me as the boat was slowly drifting over the grass. I pitched the pockets in front of me, never made a sound, and slaughtered them. So there's you can employ a drift sock technique in conditions where you need to be very stealthy, where when the wind's blowing hard, you can't be, with the trolling motor, because it's constantly coming out of the water, gurgling or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. I've had drift socks put a lot of money in my boat in a lot of different situations.
Question from the instant feedback before we wrap things up here. Do you think drift paddles on power poles are as effective as drift socks?
No, I don't. I'll get a lot of feedback on this, but I don't. The drift sock really really slows you down. Good. The paddles work, but to a degree.
Yeah. They're a lot easier. Paddles are great for someone like me.
Right, but
but they're not as effective.
They're not as effective. They're just not. Now, if the wind's not blowing 50 miles an hour, I'm sure they'll work. But when
unconfirmed. Go ahead.
Yeah, unconfirmed.
No, unconfirmed. I wanted to get this in. I believe it was a smallmouth Dakota eBear caught a 710 today. Final day of the BPT on Cayuga. Someone said in the instant feedback here that it was a smallmouth. I have been checking the interwebs.
Is it still saying smallmouth?
Oh my gosh, it was 710 smallmouth.
Oh my God, dude. What a beast.
That's one of the top 3 biggest smallmouth ever weighed in professional bass fishing history.
What a beast. God, that's a big smallmouth.
Hey, he's only 40 pounds back.
Hey, I just set a world record, man. Oh, well, it doesn't mean much.
710. He's got 4 for 1810. A 710 smallmouth.
God almighty, dude.
I'm glad we're at the hour and 10-minute marker. That would lead to a different discussion.
Oh, yeah.
You got to play the game based on the rules for the game that you're playing. That's what I have to keep reminding myself.
Right, whether you agree with them or not.
Well, those are what the rules are. It's as many. So Dustin Connell, who's caught his biggest is a 5, nothing to sniff at, but he's caught 14 fish for 55, whereas eBear, even though he has a 710 smallmouth, he only has 4 for 1810.
Wow.
But those are the rules.
That's insanity, man.
I don't. It's not right. It's weird to me. A 710 smallmouth, you should be rewarded for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess you are. You get 8 pounds, but it's the same thing as 2-3 pound something else largemouth.
Right. I would be camera, tape measure, girth, camera, girth. Camera.
Is that one going on the wall?
Replica
I would take 710.
100%. I would take so many measurements and so many pictures of that.
Dude, that's a post-spawn 710.
Dude, do you realize with that fish with eggs in it is over 8 pounds?
Easily, and they caught an 8-pounder out of there this year.
Oh, my God.
Have you ever tangled with anything in that realm, Frank? You ever hooked one? You ever seen one? You had one on?
The biggest smallmouth I have to date is 7-1.
Holy cow, that's a monster. Out of here.
Yeah, and I had 2 of them.
You had 2 7-1s? Have you ever hooked anything that you feel like might have eclipsed that?
One of them was 615, and the other one was 7-1. Back to back, and I had 3 5-pounders to go with them.
Oh, I think you told that story one time.
Yes, that was one of the best.
Are there 710s in Erie? Are there 8-pounders in Erie?
I am 100%.
Or are they topped out?
No, I'm 100% sure of it. I'm 100% sure of it.
Just not as many as are in. Well, I don't know. You look at what the Elite Series did on absolute perfect conditions on Thousand Islands. And granted, it was a little bit time of the year, but there were still some fish on bed. It's not when they were at their absolute fattest by any means. They were actually losing weight at that time, but there was not a single 7-pounder weighed in.
Right. Yeah, but look at how many 4s and 5s were weighed in, dude.
I know, but I'm just talking about freak shows here. Based on the 710 that eBear just caught in.
Freak show wise, I guarantee you there's 8-pound smallmouth in Lake Erie.
710 middle of August.
Look at how big Lake Erie is compared to, New York.
Is that 8-pounder hanging out with other? Is that 8-pounder hanging out with other smallmouth, or is he hanging out with walleye? Is he hanging out with lake trout? Is he hanging out by himself?
Is he
in a school?
He's probably palling up with the sturgeon.
You know what? No, but serious question. Like, I mean, is a fish that size? Does he own a rock pile?
I don't know. I haven't caught an 8-pound smallmouth. I don't know, but I can tell you the 2 7s I got were with a bunch of 5s. Now, a 7-pounder and a 5-pounder, the 7 makes the 5 look kind of small. You know what I mean? An 8-pounder, they just don't look real. I mean, they're all knotted in the head. They got all kinds of fat. It's unbelievable. What a fish, man. What a fish.
710 on the final day, fishing for 100K. It doesn't get much better than that.
Well, it would if he was leading it.
I know, but still, I mean, that's fantastic.
I know. What a great, what a
I mean,
great
you're seeing
fish.
7-pound largemouth. I mean, anytime, good Lord.
Dude, the biggest largemouth I have weighed in a tournament was 8.5 pounds. I mean,
Falcon?
No, heck no. That was on,
Eufaula?
that was on, Toledo Bend.
Did you freak out?
No, listen, dude, I swear to God, I threw a swim bait out there and I was reeling the swim bait in and the boil, you know how it boils? I set the hook, man. The hook comes flying at me, no swim bait. I'm like, what the heck? I reached down, I grabbed my flipping stick, and all I had on it was like a little beaver style bait. And so I just threw it right into that boil, and my line just goes, and I went, oh my God, dude. I got him in. It was 8.5 pounds. And on Eufaula, dude, I got an 8-pounder on Eufaula too. Flipping. I had 5 feet of line out. I flip in this bush and the bush goes, and I whack and it goes, and I'm like, oh, I tell my non-boater, relax. It's a big bowfin mudfish for you guys that don't know what a bowfin is. Big bowfin, don't worry about it. I got the drag lock down and I'm just pulling on this fish and he comes flying by the side of the boat and it's like really long and I go bowfin, bowfin. All of a sudden it turns and gets this big fat head out of the water. And I go, oh my God, largemouth. And that my non-boater was like an osprey, dude. He leans over the side of the boat. He's got it and lifts it up and pulls it in the boat. And both of us are like, what? It was fantastic.
God, I love ending with some good stories. All right. Let me see if I can pull this back up. I don't think I can pull this back up.
We'll just remember, guys, DIY.
Yep.
Lurenet, and then we have to remember our little friend Haley here. Can you pull that thing back up?
I'm working on it.
Hook 'em for Haley. There it is. There you go. Hook 'em for Haley, guys. If you're in the area and you want to fish a fun event, get in there. Go to Hook 'em for Haley auction and get some of these autographed baits and my jerseys, man. Help this poor kid out. She deserves it.
Good stuff. Frank, a little bit of an educational show today. A little bit of a housekeeping show, taking care of what's going on. A little bit of is that philanthropy way to donate for a good cause. And remember, the opportunity for this that is pulled up here is this to get some one-of-a-kind Frank Scalish jerseys that he is auctioning off through the Hook 'em for Haley auction site. Frankie Jr. said he would actually put the link up on your social media stuff to go to
he's the
Scalish
man.
Fishing to where you can actually go. But that if you're a fan of Day 4 and what Frank does and a great way to get some one-of-a-kind stuff and support the Hook 'em for Haley event, go to Frank Scalish's Instagram. Do you have a Facebook page?
No, I don't use Facebook.
You don't use it. Go to your Instagram or just follow the links like we said here. Hook 'em for Haley auction on Facebook and bid on that.
And remember, guys, it's time to paint. It's time to get busy.
Good stuff, Frank. Getting back into the educational shows coming up. And not that these weren't educational, but I'm talking like the map breakdowns, the different types of cover and all that. We've done a great job of mixing it up over the past couple months, but you were kind of running some ideas for future shows by me before we started and excited for what we have in the upcoming weeks on Day 4.
We got some, we're gonna do some deep dives on a couple things coming up. We're gonna get back to the diagrams and we're getting to get into it next week.
I like it. Frank, I'm seeing, with the bundles out, I would love to, man, I see some possibilities for maybe a BTL Day 4 listener paint contest.
We have possibilities. They are endless, guys. We're going to have a lot of fun with this.
Good stuff. As always, this has been Day 4, number 80 with the man Frank Scalish. We'll see you guys next week.